Before we get into this episode, I have a couple things I need to talk to you about real quick. One is we are in the middle of June. Can you believe it? Halfway through the year already. And our pilgrimage is coming up. Father Matthew and I are going to Italy September 29th, and we would like you all to come with us. So go to our website, freshcatholic.com, and check out all the itinerary and contact us and let's get going on that trip. In the show notes, there's also a link that says Italy trip link. Click on that and it'll give you all the info. But it's coming up quick. And if you don't go on that Jubilee trip this year, you're going to be really sad little Catholics. So check it out. Come with us, won't you? Also, I'm going to start a series this summer that'll go through the whole summer time, and it will be conversion stories. And so if you have a good conversion story, reach out to me, Lori at freshcatholic.com, and let's see if we can get you on the show. It'll be 8 weeks, and that'll carry us through the summer. So I hope to hear from you. And now let's get to our episode. Welcome to Fresh Catholic, a podcast for those who are converting, reverting, or simply want a fresh perspective of the Catholic faith to help them to open their hearts and minds to become closer to the love and goodness of Christ. My daily prayer is that I will be a bright light to others, to be filled with the love and light of Christ, so that when people look at me, they see Him radiating out from me for His glory. Hello and welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. Well, today I'm doing an episode on Father's Day because Father's Day is coming up this weekend. So I have to honor the fathers. I gave the mothers a whole episode, so it's Father's time. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see that I'm wearing a very sporty jacket in honor of fathers. I'm trying to look like a sporty, baseball type girl. Anyway, so you're missing out if you're not on YouTube. Head over there if you're still only listening on all the other platforms. I mean, if that's all you have, but wouldn't you like to see us in action? Anyway, check it out. So, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. It is not a secret, if you know anything about me, I love men. The reason and that sounds so funny when I say that, but I really do love men. I think men are amazing. I think men are great. I think we live in a world where men are bashed a lot of the time, and I am not in that camp at all. And I believe that the reason I love men so much is because I absolutely adored my beloved Poppy, my dad, who passed away in 2014. And I was very, very, very close with him. I absolutely loved my little grandpa Henry. And I have a brother. I have two sons. I have an amazing son-in-law. I love my husband. I have how many grandsons do I have? I don't even know. I have, oh my gosh, six, seven, eight, nine, six. I don't know. I don't do math. Anyway, I have a lot of grandsons. So I really do love men and I honor men. I think they're amazing. I think we need men. And I think anybody that is saying that they don't need men in their life is probably kidding themselves. So I definitely want to celebrate Father's Day on this episode. Um, so we're going to do a similar thing in this episode as we did with Mother's Day. And I'm going to give you the facts about fathers first. So, fathers are a male parent of a child, a man who has sired or procreated a child. In religious terms, in Christianity, father refers to God the Father, and a priest has the title of father. So that's what I found out about that. Now, the what I would call a definition of what fathers do are a father protects, provides, guides, teaches, cares, and loves. That's what I think a father entails. Along with the mother, he's a major pillar of the family. Very strong pillars, the mother and father. Also, he is a good role model to his children. And I would say especially a great role model for the boys. So In this episode, I feel like I'm going to be talking in very traditional terms for a few reasons. One, I was raised in a very traditional family. I had my mom and dad were very present. They thankfully were married. My brother and sister and I are all three of us are from those two parents, which I think is rare nowadays, maybe even back in the day. And my dad went to work. My mom stayed home for the most part, but she also worked part-time. But we just had a traditional family, so that's my experience. And I know my mom and dad had the same thing. And in our subsequent families, families start to break off more in this day and age, and families become more complicated because there's remarriage and stepchildren and all those things. But I'm going to kind of come at this episode today from a traditional view when I'm talking about men and fathers, because one of the reasons also is I want to promote traditional values in parenthood. I think you know, maybe today that's not as popular an opinion, and I am not downplaying mothers or fathers. I'm not judging people on the decisions they've made. If you're a working mom and that's what you need to do, I applaud you for that. If you are a stay at home dad and that's what your family needs you to do, I applaud you for that. So I'm not here to judge. I'm more here to encourage people to consider going back to the traditional way of having a family. Let's do some dating. Let's do some courting. Let's do some getting married, men and women, as God intended. And then let's start having those babies and having those families. And I'm also, my own personal opinion, I'm not throwing this out as a guide for anybody, but in my family's history, we all got married really young. We all started having children really young. And a lot of times people look down on that and they say, oh, well, your whole life, you're not going to have any fun anymore. Well, it's a different kind of fun. And honestly, one of the perks is when you have children, if we all got married early, then we had our children. And I feel like you have more energy when you're younger to have your children. If you want a career, you can do that later. It's easier to do a career later than it is to have children later, honestly. And that way, when your children grow up, you get to be young grandparents and you get to enjoy your grandchildren for a longer time. So that's been a perk for my whole entire family. I know my grandparents got married early. My mom and dad got married early. My sister did. I did. My daughter did. So I just think, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you're in love with the person you're marrying and you want to have children and it's all God's plan, double thumbs on that. So there's of course all kinds of fathers, just like we talked about all kinds of mothers, biological, of course, adoptive, stepfathers, someone who perhaps is filling in for a fatherly role if there's no father, like a grandpa, uncle, brother, or friend. Um, but I do think it's very important to remember that children need a good balance of mother and father. Mothers have so much to offer their children, so many things that are just beautiful and very specific to being a mother. And again, there's all kinds of moms. There's more, maybe athletic, kind of tougher moms. And then there's, very nurturing, soft moms, and then there's dads who are very tough and strong and very macho, and then there's softer dads. It's not really about what kind of parent you are. It's more that the child really benefits from having both those parents. It's such a good balance. Have you ever been on a teeter-totter and only one end has a person? It doesn't work. It doesn't teeter or totter. So it's good to have a balance. It's good to have both parents. It's good to have them as partners helping to raise the child. Whatever gifts you have, you can give to the child. But it is good to have, like, girls should have their mother as a role model, boys should have their dad as a role model. And then you can kind of let's call it cross-pollinate, and I'm all for both parents teaching the opposite sex. I spent a lot of time with my boys. They were more on the artsy side. My daughter was more athletic. She spent a lot of time with her dad, but she's very girly. She's very much a girl, very much a woman. And my boys, they spent time with their dad, um, some more than others, but they ended up, getting some traits from him. And then they had, a more you know, um, softer side to them, which I think is beautiful. I think it's good to be well-rounded. So those are some things about fathers. I think typically, back in the day, the dad went to work and provided for the whole family, and the mom stayed home and nurtured the children. But like I said before, it's whatever works in your family. I know my brother stayed home with his son when his wife was she was a nurse, and she would be a nurse, and he would stay home with his son. So I think whatever works for your family, but again, there needs to be that really good balance in order to raise good, healthy children who have lots of interests, who know that their parents are there loving them, who know that they can count on both of their parents. I think that's really important. And hopefully, we can get back to, again, this more like dating, courting, getting married, having families, and then, really watching your family just flourish in that. There's a family we have at our church that I happen to be the wedding coordinator on their wedding, and they're both sides of their family are very prominent in our church, and they got married, and I think they're on baby 3 coming up here, and I've just been so enjoying watching not only they raise their children, but that their parents are watching these children being born and interacting with them and the great grandparents. So it's like it's just a beautiful thing. And there's so much love and care when you live that way. And it can't help but, children can't help but thrive in that. So that's what I have to say about um just the basics of fatherhood. And I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that fathers have. We'll be right back. Have you ever wanted to witness the miraculous and walk where saints have walked? This is your chance. Join me, Lori Balderas, host of Fresh Catholic Podcast, and Father Matthew Miguel, as we walk with you through Italy's most sacred sites. From the Eucharistic miracles of Lanciano and Orvieto to the peace of Assisi, your heart will be transformed by these extraordinary moments of grace. You'll walk the hallowed streets of Rome, step into the history of the Vatican, and witness the places where faith has flourished for centuries. Each stop deepens your journey. Each miracle renews your soul. We invite you to join us on an unforgettable, life-changing experience.
Join us and let your faith come alive in Italy.
We'll be right back.
Our second season launches on June 7th. Join us for compelling conversations about things such as the state of the world, immigration, healthcare, and more. And while you wait, catch up on what you might have missed on Season 1, including episodes that explore the LGBTQ community and issues there, politics, addiction, homelessness, grief, the loss of a child. Friar Time, Season 2 is on the way. Follow us today.
And we're back. So as motherhood, fatherhood can also be very challenging. I'm not a father. I've never been a father. I can't necessarily speak as a father, but I've definitely observed fatherhood and fathers. I have definitely observed what I consider to be a good strong father role, and I've also seen people that aren't, they're having a harder time being a father, or maybe they're not even being allowed to be the father. So I think in our world today, especially I don't even know how long ago it's been. It's like within the last 10 years, I've noticed a big shift in how people treat men, how women treat men. And I think that what I'm observing is that is a big challenge for men and for fathers. And I do think not all the time because I'm not going to make these big blank statements about people. I'm just telling you my opinion and my experiences. But I'm not saying all dads are good or bad. I know that there's great fathers out there and there's fathers that aren't so great. Same mothers. But I think that for one reason or another, sometimes fathers don't get to spend very much time with their children. I think back in the day, the fathers were out working all the time and they were providing for their family. Their family was fine and safe at home with the mother, but the father was working a lot. And so maybe they didn't get to spend as much time with the children. Or maybe the father has been excluded from the child's life. I think that's happening a lot. And both of those are not just bad for the father, but they're especially bad for the child because again, the child needs both father and mother. They need a good balance. They need that father present. And so I think we're living in a society today that I'm hearing and seeing a lot of evidence that women, for some reason, think that they can just have these children without men. And because there's ways now to have children where you just go into the lab and you get inseminated or you have, a surrogate or all these different ways to get pregnant now, they think, well, we don't need a man. We can just have the baby, but we don't need to have the man. And I think they think that's a good idea. And I think maybe on the surface, it seems like, wow, I won't have the trauma. I won't have like relationship issues. I can have my way. I get the child all to myself. I don't have to ask permission for anything. I don't have to share my child. Well, I think that is quite ridiculous, actually. I think that if these women are thinking that, it's maybe going to be okay in the short term, but in the long term, that's not going to be okay. That's not going to work out. And like if you break up, let's say have these children and you get a divorce and you break up, which is very common these days, then they have two households. And then we have, hopefully mom and dad aren't bashing the other parent while the child is with the other parent. That would be horrible. That's confusing to the child. That's not okay to do that to the children because it makes them torn. They're not quite sure. They really need both parents to be still a loving team for the child, even if they can't stay married, which I'm not promoting here. I definitely am a big promoter of getting married, staying married. If you've broken up, try to work it out, try to get back together, and if you can't do that and you have to stay separated or divorced, you really should make a conscious effort to get along and be peaceful and be supportive of the other parent for your child. And most of the time, the dad is the one that gets the axe and gets kicked to the curb. And I just don't think that's fair. Again, I don't know everybody's circumstances. I'm not making a big blanket statement. I'm just saying I'm noticing that there's very superficial, frivolous reasons that women are eliminating men from their lives. And God made us very specifically to be together in the marital bed after marriage to procreate children. That's what we're made for. And so men are vital. And no, we don't always get along. And no, we're not the same. And no, what was it called? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think that there's a lot of truth in that. And we have to learn that. Like, hear me out on this. Let's say you're a woman and you have a little boy with hopefully your husband. and you start being at odds with your husband and you're bashing him and putting him down because he's a man, what do you think, what kind of message do you think that's giving to your little boy? He's your little boy. You want him to turn into an amazing man so that he could be an amazing husband and an amazing father. If you're bashing his dad and putting men down constantly around him, he's going to think, well, I'm a boy. I'm going to be a man. Do you think that about me, mommy? You don't want that. You don't want that at all. Same men don't talk down about women because especially if you have a daughter, and also vice versa. It's like, women, you want your boys to be good men. Men, you want your girls to be good women. But you also want your boys to treat women responsibly and respectfully. And I like my daughter to treat men with respect. I like her to, be supportive of them. And so I think this is a big problem we're having in our world, and it's being allowed to just kind of happen. And consequently, it's been this vicious circle. So men are being eliminated from boys' lives, and then the boys are acting out. They're committing crimes. Mom is too soft, typically. When a boy is getting in trouble and dad's not there to lay down the hammer, they're getting in worse trouble and mom's being too soft, typically. Not always, but typically. That's not working. They've done studies. They're finding that, boys are struggling in many ways. And I'm a mother of boys. I love boys. I have these grandsons. I want all my boys in my family and all my men in my family to feel loved and valued. I don't want them to act out. I don't want them to feel like they're not worth it. I don't think that's good for any of us in our society at all. And women, yeah, you can probably take care of a baby for a while by yourself, but that's not how it's meant to be. Now, of course, if your spouse passes away, then, you have your family and friends around you to help you raise the child. But you should probably find a male role model to help them to balance that out. I just think that's smart. And that's how it was meant to be. And I'm going to go with God's plan on that because his way is the best way. So
we'll be right back. What does it mean to live a life of faith? What does it mean to live as a Catholic Christian? Hi, this is Bishop Kevin Sweeney, host of the podcast Beyond the Beacon. Join me as we unravel and discuss the mysteries of our faith, of the church, of living as Catholic Christians. Be inspired by engaging interviews with priests and seminarians, deacons, religious, women and men who live the life of faith day by day here in our Diocese of Paterson, in food pantries and classrooms and parishes and ministry. How is God working in their lives today? How is God working in our lives? Join me as I ask them and be part of the conversation on Beyond the Beacon. Listen and follow Beyond the Beacon wherever you get your podcasts or watch it on my YouTube channel. Please check the show notes for more details. Thank you and God bless you.
hang on, just checking my notes. I want to make sure I'm going to talk about what I want to. Um, Sometimes also I think dads are labeled as too strict or too hard. And I know a lot of people that are like my age or older, and they look back and they kind of might not have the best memories of their dads because their dads were very strict. And the dads were definitely around, but they were very strict. And sometimes, children have a bad response to that, like, oh, my dad, he was so tough. He was so this and that. But I think, again, that's kind of a dad thing, is to be firm, to be the head of the family, to lay down the law, to have the rules. And mom typically is a little more, soft and nurturing, but sometimes I've seen it reversed too. But, look back and try to look at your parents as you get older as, why were they doing what they were doing? Why were they laying down those certain rules and certain laws to our family? Was it to be mean? Was it to be strict and just like relentlessly so? Probably not. Now, I know there's people out there that have had abusive relationships growing up, and I'm so sorry about that. And that's not what I'm talking about here. I recognize that. I understand it. And I am sorry that that was your experience, because that's not okay. It's never okay. So I just want to clarify that. But most of the time, parents have rules and guidelines for the child's safety and well-being, and they want to be sure that they're thriving in the world and that they make it. We want to keep our children safe, and you can't do that if your life is just chaos and no rules. That doesn't work. It just doesn't. Um, so I do think that we are in a problem with, like I say, women who are downgrading men. Um, I used to have a business where I would go into women's homes and sell merchandise. And I would go in to do my job. But other than that, I was pretty much a fly on the wall. And I was horrified to find out that the women, now this was years and years and years ago, but I was very shocked to find out that the women spent that time at that party really bashing their husbands and really downgrading their husbands. And I thought, wow, I mean, maybe the men are doing that when they're away from their wives. I don't know because I haven't done a party for men like that. But I was really sad by that because it made me think, I wonder if they're giving off that impression around their children. And I wonder if their children realize that mommy doesn't value daddy and that mommy thinks that daddy is worthless or mommy thinks that daddy is, lazy or whatever, fill in the blank. Um, I was just really saddened by that because I didn't think that that was very good. And I think again, it doesn't make your family thrive. It puts a wedge in your family. It confuses your children. So we need to be really careful of how we're talking about our spouses. You know, to our children, around our children. They hear everything. They're little sponges, and we want them to value dad. My ex-husband, the father of my children, we were a very good parenting team. I, um, I mean, I have no memory of bashing him in front of my children, certainly. And I was always very supportive of him. I thought he was a really good dad. I know that he supported me as a mother. And, I think that's just really important. I really am grateful for that, that that's how we were raising our children and that, I wanted him to feel special. And I wanted them to be respectful to him. And so I really encourage people to do that. If you're not doing it already, please encourage it. And if your children are grown up and they're in their own relationships and you see them not, treating their spouse in a respectful way, not that they'll listen to you. My kids certainly don't listen to me when I throw out my 2 cents, but it's good to at least say, how be respectful so that the children, you know, see you doing that and they'll be respectful as well. Monkey see, monkey do. Um, Also, I just think, I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I think fathers are awesome. And I think if you've had a great father, you are so blessed. You're so lucky. It's a true treasure to have a wonderful father. If your husband is a wonderful father, again, your children are just being abundantly blessed by that father, that man. Good job, ladies, for marrying such a good person that's become such a great father. Um, I just think, you know, when you look at the dads, like I have certain dads that I really look to and admire them as a father, and I kind of like secretly from afar watch how they are with their children and watch the progress of their children. And I know that I'll text or on social media I'll comment on somebody and I'll say, you guys are doing a beautiful job raising your children. You are, I'm so proud of the parents that you are. Or, like I'll say, what a great dad or what a great mom. And I think we need to encourage people when they're being a good parent because, I think when you're a parent, you're I don't know about you, but I mean, I used to be like this. It's like, what do other people think about my parenting style? Are other people watching me? Are other people talking about me? I was so concerned about that. I think that's how it is when you're like a new parent or a young parent. You're very worried about what people are thinking about you. And that's human. It's hard not to think in those terms. But I think if you're being a good, focused, loving, present, just on your child's level, not demonstrative over them all the time, I think that the most important thing is that your children will realize how much they're loved and valued, and everybody else is going to see it because it's just happening naturally in front of their faces. And it's not that you're putting on a show for them, it's that you just know that you want to be the best parent you can be, because of course God is watching. Your children are really, you know, they are really soaking all this in. You are making an impression on them. And so be the best dad you can be. Take the really good things from your dad or your grandpa or some man that's been in your life that's been so valuable to you. Take those great things and make them a part of your father repertoire. The things that weren't so great, the things you struggled with, you can eliminate those. You can alter those. You can change those. You don't have to fall into a pattern of something that, happened to your dad and then happened to you. You don't have to stick with that pattern. You can change that. Be the dad that you're going to be. Take all the good and use that. Take all the bad and throw it away and be the best dad you can be. So when we come back, we're going to talk about a few dads that I want to talk about in my life. So with that, we'll be right back. Let me tell you about all things Fresh Catholic. So buckle up. We have a podcast with weekly topic episodes and Fresh Catholic Daily, the daily Mass readings, on all platforms and YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, rate, and review. That would really help. Our website, freshcatholic.com, has an online store with merchandise and coffee, a blog, comics, info about our pilgrimage to Italy in September of this Jubilee year, and Fresh Catholic courses with educator Charles Merritt, including the Hail Mary, the Our Father, Sin, Sacraments and Grace, Advent, Angels, and Virtues. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Fresh Catholic with short videos every day. Email me at lori@freshcatholic.com. I'd love to hear from you. And please consider becoming a Patreon or sponsor to help support our mission of drawing people to the faith or back to the faith. Phew! Spread the word and join the fun. Thanks so much. Bye. And we're back. So, kind of like in the Mother's Day episode, I'm going to ask you some questions here. What kind of father did you have? Did you have like a really great father? Was your dad not so great? Sorry, I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just there's fathers like that out there. Did you have a different person like your grandfather raised you? What were the highs and lows? What did you learn from that father? What did what traits did you pick up from him? What talents or skills did you get from him? Sometimes it's fun to me, I'm a list maker. I love to make lists. Put down like all the good things you got from your dad. Oh, I got these talents from him. I got these skills from him. And then see what did you pass on to your children. That's kind of fun to see what gets passed down. What personality traits did you get from your dad? I think those are always fun. And then I always like to see family resemblances with mothers and fathers. What physical traits did you get from your parents? I think that's really fun. So I have these different father people in my life that I would like to highlight in this episode because I highlighted some mothers in my Mother's Day episode. So I'm going to tell you what kind of fathers these gentlemen are in my life. So my husband, Simon Balderas, who's my producer as well, Simon is in my opinion, a very unique father. He is very creative. he's very soft and kind, and he's not forceful or anything. I would say he's very flexible is a nice word for it because, you know, I think he wants to really be loving and kind to his children, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. I think his children have benefited in so many ways with him as a father because I think as he was raising them, and even now, the things he does with them are always like a little adventure, and they're always very creative, or the ways he's shown love to them is very different than a lot of like, traditional, typical, tough dads. And like he would tell them stories. He would write stories uh, for them and say them. He would illustrate things. He likes to cook and bake. And so, like, he'll do things like that with his children. He definitely likes movies. They've watched all sorts of movies. Some of them maybe not so appropriate. I know that they've told him later, wow, that movie really scared me to death. And, he's like, really? He gave them a very good overview of movies, which I personally love too. I think that's a really good thing for your children. And I think he's done a lot of things with them where he's gone out and he's very spontaneous. He goes out and he just does like these adventures with his kids. And I think he has a very childlike way about him, so he can really get down on their level. He's really great with his grandchildren as well because he kind of can he's so childlike, he can kinda get on their level, and they can have fun together and giggle together and play together, and I think that's beautiful, 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 and he's got four children and 3 grandchildren, so, they're all benefiting from the kindness and sweetness and gentleness that he is as a father. My son Taylor and my son-in-law Forrest are fathers to my amazing, precious grandchildren. Taylor is the father of 2, Andrew and Juniper, and Forrest is the father of 5, Sawyer, Ellie, Miller, Shepherd, and Sunny. And both of those gentlemen are very strong men. They're very strong. They provide. They're both very tall, very manly, very tough, but they're also very sweet, and they're also very kind, and they spend a lot of time with their children, and I think they're giving their children amazing lives. I don't get to spend that much time with my son and my 2 grandchildren, and my daughter-in-law because they live in another state, but when I see photos of what they're doing, they are living just a beautiful life, and they go camping, and they go to the zoo, and they play at the park, and, I know my son loves to play video games, with his little boy and play Legos, and so I think, my son had kind of a rough childhood, so it pleases me to know, and my heart is bursting with just gratitude to the Lord that he has provided Taylor with these 2 children so that he can kind of relive childhood through their eyes, and, um, it just makes me so grateful, that he's been given that opportunity to do that because I just see the joy in his eyes almost more than theirs, which is just a beautiful thing to behold. And my son-in-law, Forrest, he really is providing a fun, active life over at their house. He built them a skateboard ramp, and one of my grandsons loves to ride motorcycles, and he built him jumps for his motorcycle. My other grandson's building a car because Forrest knows how to do that. So they're living a good, strong life like the boys. He's raising those 3 boys to be really strong and very boy centered. And then he's got 2 daughters, and he's very sweet with those 2 daughters and very supportive of them, and I love it nothing more than when I hear him call my granddaughter Lovey. That's just the cutest thing. He's just this big, tall giant of a man, and he's got these little daughters, so, I'm so happy that they're being such great dads. I'm just so happy my daughter uh, married Forrest, and I'm so happy that Taylor married Chloe, and we have all these grandchildren. Um, then, of course, the cream of the crop was my dad. So there was just no better dad than my dad, and he He was around a lot because he was a teacher, so I got to spend a lot of time with him alone. My brother and sister are much older, so I was, around, like, they were off doing their own thing, and my dad would be home early in like, mid-afternoon, and also, every weekend he was home, whole summer home, and I just had a grand old time with my dad. I did all kinds of things with him, and some of my favorite memories of him, he was very hands-on, very intelligent because he was a teacher, world traveler, loved peoples of all cultures, and we used to swim a lot together, play tennis every day. We would ride our bikes together. We would play ping pong. Um, we would play pool together. I had my own pool cue. He taught me sign language and we would do that together. And we would just have the best time. And I got a lot of traits from him. I definitely get my temper from him, hot Italian temper, and I'm very passionate. I get that from him. I'm very straightforward and honest. I am a realist. I think, I can see the reality of things from him. And I am more organized because of him. And he was just a force. He was an absolute force, and he really impacted many people's lives, not just our family, but many people. He was a father figure to many, many men. I hear from them still to this day. He was a Boy Scout leader and executive, and a lot of those boys back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s, were without fathers, and he was their role model. And he definitely is a fantastic grandfather. All of his grandchildren adore him, and his great grandchildren didn't know him, unfortunately, but he wrote a book, so we're lucky about that because that lives on. But he just was an amazing dad. He was so protective of me. He really was interested in what I was doing. He wanted the best for me. He would never let anything happen to me. Um, he just watched out for me. I just had just the best relationship with him ever. And I'm so blessed in that because I do know some people have a hard time with their dad. And when he passed away, a part of my heart broke. And I think about him every day. And when he died, I thought I didn't know what I was going to do without him. And I had just become Catholic, like right before he passed away. And he really supported me being Catholic. And when he died, I thought I went into like a deep mourning and I needed to come out of it. And the only thing that helped me or that like even allowed me to move forward was that instead of having my earthly father, I now have God the Father. And in the same way that my dad was so protective of me, would never let anything happen to me, was always there for me. He would drop everything for me. I could always go to him. I could always confide in him. He would always help me. It shifted to God the Father. And if I wouldn't have become Catholic, I don't know what I would have done after my dad died. And now I have God the Father. So he's always there. He's always with me. He drops everything to hear me and answer me and be with me. I might not always get the answer I want, just like my beloved Poppy didn't always give me the answer I wanted, but it shifted. And now I have God the Father. And you have to remember, if you don't already know, I wasn't raised in any religion. I was Christian, just Protestant Christian for a while, but I didn't have that relationship with God the Father or Jesus. And now I became Catholic right before my dad passed away, and that's what filled that hole in my heart, filled my broken heart. Without God, without this faith I have, I would not be doing well. I would not. So if you're out there and you've lost your father in one way or another, or you don't have a father, or you've never had a father around, or your father's passed away, know that you have God the Father. Also, you can reach out to your priest. Look at him as a father figure, maybe. Or maybe a deacon at your church. Look at him as a father figure, maybe. But know that God is with you always. He's in your heart. He's in your soul. He's there for you. He is going to be your very steady father. Just know that. It's so comforting. It's really helped me. It's really comforted me. So I almost made it through that whole episode without crying. But anytime I talk about my dad, I'm just a weepy mess because I loved him so much and I miss him so much. But I know that I have God the Father in my life, in my heart, now and always. Amen. Alleluia. Praise the Lord. So I hope all you fathers have a wonderful Father's Day, a blessed Father's Day. I hope you are treated like the king that you are. And all you that are listening that have fathers, or you are married, and you have the father of your children, please, please, please make them feel special, make them feel valuable. It's only going to benefit you, him, and your children and grandchildren. So have a wonderful week this week, fathers, and a happy, wonderful Father's Day. Thank you for coming today. Thank you. Love you. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. Now go out and be a bright light in someone's life. And remember, be focused, be faithful, and be fresh. Fresh Catholic is produced, edited, and recorded in Ventura, California.